What is going on, guys? It is the role model of the IWC, your boy, a gamer's goon, back here on YouTube with your guys' Fyter Fest review. Not just for one, but both nights of AEW Fyter Fest. Now, Fyter Fest, as we all know, was a 2-week event. It happened last July 1st and last July 8th, which was last Wednesday and this Wednesday, yesterday for me, since I am recording this on Thursday. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Fyter Fest was the show of the year, because quite frankly, it wasn't. It was a very good show, though. It was a very good show, and I'll break it down later in terms of some matches specifically. But let's start right off with the opening match to Fyter Fest 2020. We had the Jurassic Express facing MJF and Wardlow. This match wasn't anything too out of the ordinary. It was a good showcase match for both Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Obviously, you get to see some of what Wardlow can do, because as we know, Wardlow really hasn't been a focal point inside the ring yet. We have seen some matches of him and Luchasaurus. We have seen some matches here and there with Wardlow, but we haven't really seen Wardlow display everything he can go and do in that ring. And then we all know how great MJF is, so it was a decent match. Wardlow ended up taking the pin here, continuing the narrative of MJF not losing, not getting pinned, not submitting, not tapping out, whatever. MJF is continuing his narrative of not losing, which is exactly what I expect to happen. And this is good for both Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, because this could be one of those matches that's going to kind of catapult them into maybe getting an AEW championship match in the future for those tag team titles, which as of night one, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page still hold. Well, no, I'll tell you later in the review whether or not they still to this day are your AEW champions, because they didn't defend it once, they defended it twice on Fyter Fest. So Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus could be your future number one contenders, especially after beating a top guy like MJF and his little sidekick Wardlow. So that'll be very interesting to see how that goes for the Jurassic Express. I think we all love the Jurassic Express. I think not many people would be too very upset if the Jurassic Express get a match against the tag team champions. So I could easily see it happening. I think it will happen eventually. I don't know if it's going to be at the Fight for the Fallen or what it might be, but Jurassic Express, I feel like, are going to end up having a tag team title match sooner rather than later. So that'll be very interesting. Next, we have the match of night one. The match of night one of Fyter Fest. This was the best match on night one. And a lot of people, the next day, a lot of people still on Friday, were just all over Instagram, all over Twitter saying, I can't believe we had that match. And I don't think a lot of people really expected this match to be the one that stole the show. It was Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford. Now, we all know how great Hikaru Shida is. If you've been watching Dark, or if you've been watching Penelope Ford against some of her matches here in AEW, against some of the enhancement talent or whatever, you know Penelope Ford can go in the ring. But not many people really would go off on a limb and assume that she could hang with a woman like Hikaru Shida, who is probably one of the best in all of AEW outside of Britt Baker, your role model. If you don't believe she's your role model, you're a conspirator. But I don't think a lot of people really knew how good Penelope Ford really was until this match. Now, the only problem I have with this match is Kip Sabian being at ringside. Kip Sabian does not need to be at ringside, especially in a match this big for Penelope Ford. It was for the AEW Women's World Championship. I understand why he was. Obviously, he's her fiance, or she's his fiance, whatever. But in a match this big, Penelope Ford needs to go, and she needs to say, you know what? I love you and all, but I can't have any sort of distractions. I can't have any sort of excuses. I think we could easily get another Penelope Ford versus Hikaru Shida match. But at the end of this one, Hikaru Shida picked up the victory. I think we definitely are going to be in for maybe another Penelope Ford match, especially what got set up. I could see maybe a triple threat happening. We'll talk about that in the night 2 side of the review. But I think Penelope Ford is not just yet done chasing that AEW Women's World Championship. So, Penelope Ford, I think she turned a lot of eyes. I think she proved that she really can go in that ring. And then I think everybody knows what Hikaru Shida can do in that ring. Because if you look at Hikaru Shida's body of work, she's been probably the best in all of AEW's women's division since the beginning of AEW. So I think everybody could obviously see how good Shida is. And then you see how well Penelope Ford hung with Shida. Then you can realize both of them are really good. The only problem is Penelope's been a little bit suppressed. I would love to see Penelope on the show more often, in more matches. Penelope Ford really can go in the ring, and I think she might have a chance at becoming the women's champion one day. I don't know if it's going to be a soon day, but eventually I think there is a possibility for Penelope Ford to become the AEW women's champion. So it's not, I don't think it's going to be soon, but down the line, I could see it happening. Next, we have the AEW TNT Championship defended by Cody against Jake Hager. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this was the match of the night. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to lie to you guys. But a lot of people were talking about how this was a good match. I agree. I do agree. It was good, but it wasn't great. The one thing I will say about Cody versus Hager was one thing that is probably the best part about it is this was Hager's best match in AEW to date. This was not Cody's best match. Cody's best match was against Dustin. Cody had a better match against Darby. Cody's had better matches against Sammy. He's had better matches against a lot of different people. This was not Cody's, I don't even know if this breaks Cody's top 5 matches in AEW history. But this is Jake Hager's best match in AEW. This made Jake Hager look legit. This made Jake Hager look the part. Jake Hager looked tough. And the thing about it is, I could see Jake Hager still getting another shot. Obviously, Jake Hager came out with his wife, Catalina Hager, and then Cody with Arn Anderson. And Hager wasn't really being too nice to little old Arn. Obviously, Cody, being Cody, took kind of some offense to Hager throwing Arn into the whatever it's called. And Cody ended up picking up the victory over Hager as we expected going in. Obviously, you don't think Cody is going to drop that title anytime soon. And he is going to remain the TNT champion. And the TNT Championship Open Challenge is not returning for week 2 of Fyter Fest, but it is returning for the Fight for the Fallen pay-per-view, which is next week, the 15th of July. So there is some good things going on with Cody in that TNT Championship. That's one of the reasons, obviously, you don't think Hager's going to win. And then, obviously, Hager really wasn't ready for that TNT Championship. We need to see a little bit more out of Jake Hager before we can give him a championship title on the show. So, Cody, the right decision here to win. And, obviously, I've praised how much I love the open challenges. He's going to be doing that next week at Fight for the Fallen. So, I'm not going to tell you who it is until night 2 because that got announced via text message by Cody. So I'll tell you about that a little bit later, but just know the match next Wednesday could be very good. Very good. Next we have Private Party versus the Inner Circle. Santana and Ortiz versus Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, obviously they had Matt Hardy in their corner. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I thought the Inner Circle, Proud and Powerful here, would win Santana and Ortiz. That did not happen. The winner of this match does end up going on to face the tag team champions and the winners of Best Friends and Omega Page. And the winner of the number one contenders match was Private Party, the Young Guns in Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. Two guys that they're very athletic. They're very good in the ring. The only problem I have with them is the last few times we've seen them, they haven't been as good as the Private Party we saw at the beginning of last year. At the beginning of AEW when they fought the Young Bucks. We didn't see that Private Party. Maybe this is the part where Private Party is going to start picking it up, because this wasn't a bad match. And the next match that they had, once they became the number one contenders, when they were fighting for that championship, was probably their best match since the Young Bucks match. So, Private Party pick up the victory here, and I think it was probably the right decision. Except I just want to see Santana and Ortiz succeed, because those are just two guys that I know how good they really are. So obviously we want to see Santana and Ortiz succeed here on the Gamers Game channel, because those are two of my boys. So. But let's get into the fifth and final match of night one. It was the AEW World Tag Team Championships being defended against the Best Friends. Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defending their titles against the Best Friends. And what do the Best Friends do? Well, they take a page out of FTR's book. You know how FTR comes up in their little car? They didn't this night too, but you know how they pull up in their little car? Well, Best Friends said, you know what? Let's take a page out of their book. Trent, Chuck, let's call Miss Beretta. Or Miss Taylor, I don't know which one it was. Susie was her name. I don't know which parent she was. I think it was Trent's. She was definitely Trent's, because Trent hugged her, I think. But she pulled him up in a minivan. And then, as they're walking down to the ring, have fun. That was the most brilliant entrance I've ever seen. Their mother drove them on into the ring, or drove them into the arena, dropped them off, said have fun. Then she went and sat in the crowd. She was there to support her little baby boy. It was just a great moment. It was real fun. Kenny Omega, then Adam Page, they had a decent match with the Best Friends. It was probably the Best Friends' best match. Obviously, Kenny Omega and Hangman have a very high bar to set after what they did at Revolution. So obviously, it's not going to hold up to those standards. But Omega Page had a decent match here against the Best Friends. So, night one wasn't the big night. It was a very good night. In terms of overall matches, it might have been a better night than night two. But it wasn't the big night. It wasn't the night that we were all looking forward to, outside of maybe Hager and Cody, and then the tag team championship match there with Omega and Best Friends. But let's get into night two. Night two is the one I think a lot of people were invested in going forward. It was not just one, but two matches that I was really looking forward to. And those matches happened to have La Goat and Mr. Orange Cassidy. And then obviously the tag team championship matches with Kenny Omega versus Omega Page versus the Private Party. So those were two matches I was looking forward to going into last night. So let's kick it right off. Let's start with the first match of the card last night. We had Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defending their AEW World Tag Team Championships against the winners of last week's Private Party versus Inner Circle match, which was the Private Party, as we mentioned earlier. This match was good. This match started off the show hot. I would love to see this match with the crowd. That's how good this match was. when I tell you that I want to see it with the crowd, that means that match would have been much better with the crowd. Like I said, the crowd adds a lot to the match. So when I can sit there and tell you, I would love to hear the crowd reaction for this match, that means they did something right. And that's exactly what happened here with Omega Page versus the Private Party. You had the youthful guys in the Private Party that I thought might have had it won a few times. They were real close a few times. But in the end, we have the buckshot lariat into the V-trigger finish from Omega Page, and ends up having Omega Page winning over the Private Party. But it keeps the Private Party relevant because they had a very good match. This might have been their best match since Matt and Nick Jackson. This might have been since the Young Bucks. I'm not here to tell you if it was or not, but in my opinion, this was probably their best match since Young Bucks. Young Bucks match was better than this, but it's revitalizing what we thought the Private Party could have been. Because if you remember back at the beginning of AEW, everybody was talking about the Private Party. Everybody was surprised what the Private Party was doing. Everybody wanted to see the Private Party become champions before SCU became the champions. Everybody loved the Private Party at the beginning. I think we are on the path to rebuilding that fire that everybody had behind their passion for the Private Party. I think the Private Party is going to get back to where they once were. Obviously, they're still very young, so they have a lot of time to gain some momentum. But I think we are starting to get to the point where we're going to start seeing some Private Party matches that are going to start to rekindle our minds to be like, oh, those were the guys that stole the show with the Young Bucks. Those were the guys that everybody wanted to see win. Those are the guys that we know are two very good wrestlers. I think we're on that path to rebuilding. Obviously, it might be a little bit too early for Omega Page to drop the title. I think they'll drop the title at All Out, maybe even sooner. But very good here. The Private Party are going to be your champions in the future, but not just yet. You got to wait a little bit. You got to let the story of Omega Page pan out a little bit and have Page be kind of careless like Page is, and then Omega's going to take offense to that, and then Hangman's just going to go, you know what, I'm done with it, and turn on Kenny. So that story is in the works as of right now, but it's not just yet, and I don't think they're losing those tag team titles until they're ready to pull the trigger, the V trigger, if you will, on that storyline. So I think that storyline might take place at All Out. So we'll see what happens there. And now you guys will finally get to hear the next week's spoiler, if you will, for who will face Cody. We have Lance Archer facing Joey Genoa, and who is in Joey Genoa's corner? Sonny Kiss. Yes, Sonny Kiss will be facing Cody next week. I'm actually excited for it. I do know Sonny Kiss is not a lot of people's cup of coffee, but I love Sonny Kiss myself. He can great in the ring, just great. What else can you say? What else can you say about Sonny Kiss? If you've seen Sonny Kiss in the ring, you know Sonny Kiss is probably one of the most athletic people, not just in AEW, but probably a lot of wrestling. Sonny Kiss is somebody that I want to see more of. Sonny Kiss is somebody that I've went out and said puts on great matches. The only problem with Sonny Kiss is that you don't get to see Sonny Kiss. I don't know why, because obviously I do understand that not a lot of people are too invested with Sonny Kiss, just like not a lot of people are too invested with Peter Avalon. But the problem is, here, you're missing out on a good wrestler. Come on. Put Sonny Kiss on the shows. You don't even have to put Sonny Kiss on the show weekly. Just once, maybe twice a month. I just want to see some Sonny Kiss, please. Let's get Sonny Kiss back on AEW consistently. I want to see some Sonny Kiss. And we have been getting that with the Janela storyline here. But I just want to see Sonny Kiss in the ring. Don't get me wrong, I love Janela. I'm a mark for Janela. I will admit that. Janela is probably one of my favorites in all of wrestling. But I want to see some Sonny Kiss in the ring. I've seen Janela. Now I want to see Sonny Kiss. we got Genoa versus Archer here. This was a good match. This match was better than it ever should have been. I'm pretty sure everybody thought this was going to be a squash match. Obviously, when you have somebody as big and as dominant as Lance Archer going against somebody like Joey Janela, who's mostly been on Dark, he's really not had much of a chance on Dynamite. You would assume that the big guy, Lance Archer, would just wipe the floor with Genoa, and that wasn't really the case. This match went a good 11 minutes. Joey Janela showed off what he could do, and in the end, Lance Archer had to put Genoa through a table in order to win this match. That's speaking a lot to what they think Joey Janela could still be. I said at the beginning, I don't know if Joey Janela is ever a world champion. However, Joey Janela fits the TNT Championship picture perfectly. I would love to see Joey Janela go fight for the mid-card championship. I'd love to see Joey Janela be focused on any AEW. We obviously have the storyline here going with Sonny Kiss, so that is good because we like to see Joey Janela on television. And he hung with Lance Archer. Lance Archer's a guy that not many people are going to get to hang with, if you will, in terms of having a decent long match with him. And on top of that, I am going to go say Joey Janela gave Lance Archer probably his best match. I think this was better than the match he had with Cody. He got the victory. I don't know if it's Joey Janela's best match. I'm still pro Janela Moxley. I know a lot of people didn't like the match because it kind of was a little brutal, but I'm all for Joey Janela here. Having a long match here with Lance Archer. I know some people were kind of rubbed the wrong way because obviously Lance Archer's just been going through everybody and he couldn't get done with Joey Janela as quickly. I think you guys forget the story with Janela. Janela has the highest pain tolerance in most, or probably a lot of wrestling. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he has the highest pain tolerance because we all know that there's a lot of deathmatch people around and out there. He's one of the highest in all of wrestling. And obviously, when you have a high pain tolerance, you'll be able to suffer more from Lance Archer. Meaning, he'll be able to get more offense because he's just going to have a longer match. So therefore, they should have more offense. So, very good stuff from Archer Janela here. It was a very good match. Like I said, Archer's best match of AEW. So, that's exactly what you want out of Fyter Fest. You want to get some of these guys their best match, and that's exactly what happened. Next, we had a 8-man tag team match between FTR and the Young Bucks going against the Butcher and the Blade the Butcher and the Blade teaming with the Lucha Brothers. Oh my gosh. They're back. I don't know how many times I can tell you this, but the Lucha Brothers, man. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They were the best tag team in the world. I don't know if that's still the case. Actually, let me check. Hey. Is it FTR or is it the Lucha Bros? Still the Lucha Bros. FTR is getting there. But I need to see some more out of them. You know why? Because it's been a long time since I've seen some FTR great matches. It's been, what? How many years ago were they in NXT? I don't even remember. The last one I can think about is TakeOver Orlando. That's the last time I can think about FTR having a great match. So, the Lucha Bros, I've said it. I told you this. I think it was All Out weekend for Escuero de la Muerte. That, yes, the Young Bucks are a great tag team. Yes, a lot of people consider them the best in the world. But I consider the Lucha Bros the best in the world because of how innovative they are, because of what they do. They changed up every single match. Same thing with Nick and Matt Jackson, don't get me wrong. But Pentagon and Rey Fenix don't have two finishes that are the same. Whereas the Young Bucks, they tend not to, but you can obviously get two finishes with the Meltzer driver or something like that. Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix, they always switch it up. That's why I love the Lucha Bros as much as I do. And FTR, they're definitely on the road to recovery here in AEW. FTR has been nothing more than spectacular. They've just been show stealers ever since coming into AEW. We've seen exactly what those guys can do. They've had great mic work. FTR, I'm so glad that they are back in AEW. So that is a very good thing. And I think FTR could hang with the Lucha Bros. And we will actually get to see that match next week because FTR and the Lucha Bros will be fighting at Fight for the Fallen. They will be fighting. I'm going to go off on a limb and say FTR wins, but we will get that match. I imagine that match is going to be the Lucha Bros and FTR's. Actually, you know what? The Lucha Bros have some great matches with the Young Bucks. This is going to be FTR's best match since NXT. Just saying. That's what, 4 or 5 years? FTR, you got your chance here against the Lucha Bros next week. So I want to see it. But in this match, we had the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers go over here. I do want to mention one spot specifically, though. I don't even remember who it was. Cash Wheeler, maybe? Might have been Cash. We had Rey Fenix. Everybody's on the outside. You know how you do the dives on the outside. Everybody's standing on the outside. And you have Pentagon. He's on his knees in the ring, kind of in that position. Because Cash hit him a little bit, fell down. And he's going to springboard over. Actually, my bad, it was a Young Buck. My bad, it was definitely a Young Buck. He was going to springboard over into Rey Fenix, but he took too long. Rey Fenix jumped off Pentagon's back, Canadian drivered him through the other people on the outside. That spot had me going crazy. That was probably the most innovative spot I've seen in a very long time. I tweeted it out immediately following that spot. I said that is exactly why these guys, the Lucha Brothers, are the most innovative tag team. You know why? Because they can do stuff like that and make it look casual. They made it look casual. That looked like a move that they've done 1,000 times. And you know why? Because they're just that good. I've never seen a move like that on to other people. I never would have thought about even booking that if I was a booker. I wouldn't have said, you know what, I think we should do this. I never would have came up with that. I don't know how many people would come up with that. But the Lucha Bros, like I said, best tag team in the world. They're next level. They're on a level so far ahead of their peers. FTR and Young Bucks are probably the closest to them in terms of what they can do. But, like I said, the most innovative tag team. I don't know where they would come up with a spot like that, but whoever came up with that spot deserves an award, deserves money. I don't care. Big round of applause to whoever made that, because that was the best spot of all of Fyter Fest. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you thought it was the winning of Kenny Omega and Paige. Don't care if you thought it was the match between Sheeta and Penelope. Don't care about what you thought it was. I really don't. That was the best spot in the entire Fyter Fest, both nights. That was the spot that I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch multiple times. I might watch a few of these matches a couple times, but that's going to be a spot that I'm going to absolutely just always go back to and be like, this was my favorite spot. This was my favorite spot. Absolutely brilliant spot there. Butcher Blade and Lucha Bros end up picking up the victory. Like I said, we are going to have the Lucha Bros versus FTR next week. And FTR did not take the pin in this match. Obviously, you got to keep FTR strong, so the Young Bucks ended up taking the pin. And we will get to see Bros versus the FTR next week. So that's something to look forward to next week. It's going to be a good match. FTR, we all know how good they are. Now we get to see them against a team that I consider to be the very best tag team in all of pro wrestling. So we'll see next week how that pans out. Next, we have a handicap match versus Kenzie Page and Kylan King. It was Nyla Rhodes There's not much to go over here outside of what happened after the match. Nyla Rhodes, obviously, 2 minutes squash match here over Kenzie Page and Kylan King. Kind of just playing with food for a little bit before she picks up the victory. Not much else to talk about. The one thing I do want to bring up, though, is what Nyla Rhodes said after the match. Now, you might be looking at me and being like, well, what did she say that was so meaningful to you? Nyla Rhodes said one thing, and it was, I've been looking around in the back, and you know what? I've noticed a trend. You know the trend I've noticed? We have... Actually, I'll talk about this. She said, we have all these managers in the back with talent. And you know the trend I see? The talent that have managers, they start to win championships. Nyla Rhodes wants to win a championship. Then she brings up Taz. And this is a part that I forgot to mention. Taz, earlier in the show, brought out the FTW, the F the World Championship, and he crowned his machine, Brian Cage, the FTW Championship holder. And Taz cut a good promo talking about how, you know what, Mox has his AEW World Championship, but Mox isn't going in as the only champion because we have the FTW champion in Brian Cage, and the Machine is going to be going in against Moxley, champion versus champion. So there you go. But Nyla says, you know what? I look around and all these people that have managers. Look at Cody. He has Arn, champion. Look at Taz. He's managing Cage, and all of a sudden he got a championship. Nyla wants that championship gold, and she said she's hired herself a manager, but she isn't gonna tell us just yet. I don't know when we are gonna know. Maybe it's gonna be next week. Maybe she's gonna hold on to it for a little bit. I don't know. But the first name that came to my head was Awesome Kong. I've been seeing some names going around about maybe a Medusa, maybe Jazz. Some people were talking about Asia Kong, which doesn't make much sense for Nyla, at least, because if you're going to have somebody come in for Nyla, it'd be for the promo side. Even though Nyla's decent on the mic, I think you wouldn't bring in an Asia Kong because of, obviously, the language barriers. So I think if you're going to want somebody for Nyla, it's going to be one of the experienced people like an Awesome Kong that people are going to just listen to just out of respect, or maybe a Medusa or a Jazz, somebody like that. But the first name that came to my head was Awesome Kong. I know a lot of people thought Jazz immediately, a Medusa. For me, it was Awesome Kong just because of obvious size comparisons. Obviously, we've all wanted to see Nyla versus Awesome Kong. It's a match that we've been wanting just because they're just two dominant women. And I think that it could be a very nice pairing between the two. I still want to see an Awesome Kong versus Nyla Rhodes match, which could still happen if she's the manager, because obviously if Nyla has maybe a mishap where maybe Awesome Kong tells her to do something and she does it but it doesn't work, then there's going to be some tension there and we might get that match later down the line. But that's a match that I want to see. But that was the first name that came to my head when I thought of Nyla Rhodes possibly having a manager. I thought Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong. Who is better than Awesome Kong to teach a bigger woman how to be more dominant? We all know how good Nyla Rhodes is. We all know how brutal and just dominant Nyla Rhodes is. Who better than one of the most dominant in all of women's wrestling history? Awesome Kong. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. Next, we have the Dark Order with Colt Cabana, obviously. Mr. Boom Boom Colt Cabana. Facing SCU. We are the best. SCU, the pride of the West. SCU, born and raised. SCU from the Golden State. SCU. Yeah. The SCU boys, Daniels, Kaz, and Scorpio Sky. Obviously, I didn't really expect the SCU guys to win here, and that's not what we got. This was really just a showcase for how good Stu Grayson is. Stu Grayson had a lot of good spots in this match. I really was impressed with Stu Grayson's performance here on Fyter Fest. Brody Lee obviously doing Brody Lee-like things where he's just going to be that dominant force. Brody Lee did have some spots in this match where he didn't look so dominant, where he was being dominated. But in the end, you got Colt Cabana picking up the pin. Colt Cabana, I'm going to assume, is going to be an official Dark Order member because he hasn't been official, but he's kind of been like official, you know what I'm trying to say? They're trying to still recruit him, but he's teaming with them, and Colt Cabana is still celebrating as if he won, but the Dark Order's like, we're not going to celebrate. We beat SCU. We beat SCU, and Colt Cabana wants to celebrate, and he's like, no, we don't celebrate. Brody Lee says, no, we don't celebrate. We want a match. We want a match. That's what you should expect when you're with the Dark Order. So I think Colt Cabana is going to be joining officially soon, but right now, still sort of in the recruitment process for Colt Cabana. Decent match. Definitely wasn't the best match of the night. Definitely wasn't the worst either. Just a decent match there between the Dark Order guys with Cabana and then obviously SCU from the Golden State, SCU. And then we got into the main event of the evening. We got in to the match we were all waiting for, the match that was selling the cards, the match that everybody wanted to see, the match that went one-on-one with Keith Lee. We had Jericho, Cassidy, we had Le Goat, Le Champion, the bubbly master Chris Jericho going on against Mr. Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. I don't know what you guys want to believe, but what Jericho said about this being Jericho's best match to date, I don't know if I can buy it, especially after seeing it. I don't know if I agree with that statement. I mean, he's had some good matches. He's had some good matches. He's had a long career. He's had matches against Benoit. He's had matches against Edge. He's had matches against a lot of people. Can you put this match up there with all those? I don't know. But I will tell you something. The one thing I will say is this was not Jericho's best match in AEW even. That goes to the Stadium Stampede match. This might be his best singles match on AEW, but this goes to the Stadium Stampede match for Jericho. That goes to that. So, with Jericho stating that this was his best match ever, I don't agree. I thought Stadium Stampede was better, and that's just AEW history. That's not even what he did back in the WWE. That's none of that. So, Jericho, I don't know if that was your best match ever. Don't get me wrong, I love you. But I thought Stadium Stampede was better than what you did with Orange Cassidy. And on the flip side of things, I do want to say this was a very good match. Don't get me wrong. But this wasn't even Orange Cassidy's best match. That goes to Pac. The one thing I did say, though, I texted my dad this, was this might have been better than the Pac match. But the problem from me putting it as better than the Pac match might have been because there was no crowd. Because the crowd made that Pac match with Orange Cassidy at Revolution something special. I think it would have been very, very good with the crowd. I think it might have been, this could have been Jericho's best match with the crowd, honestly. The reaction this match would have got with a crowd is absolutely bizarre. Everybody loves Orange Cassidy. Everybody loves Chris Jericho. I'm sure everybody would not shut up the entire show, and it would be something special. It really would. I'd be very interested to see this match with the crowd. With that being said, it was a very good match. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's either man's best match, and that's obviously because Jericho set the bar high. He set the bar high with Stadium Stampede. Orange Cassidy, he set the bar high with Pac, because obviously the crowd was just having fun with it. In that Chicago crowd that everybody loves. Thank you. You're welcome. Always part of that Chicago crowd. So when you guys say that those smart crowds do a good job, mean, you're welcome. You're welcome. Like I said, you're a role model. You follow me. Role model here on the IWC. It's all trolls. It's all trolls. I'm not cocky. Don't get me wrong. I'm just your role model. But the match here with Jericho and Orange Cassidy, very good match. Orange Cassidy had some spots where I thought Orange Cassidy was going to end up winning. I actually came into this match thinking Orange Cassidy was going to win. But at the end of the night, we have Jericho picking up the Judas effect on Orange Cassidy and picking up the victory. But before we did that, Orange Cassidy kicked out of a code breaker, and I was like, wow, Orange Cassidy's winning this match. So it definitely made you think Orange Cassidy was going to win here against Jericho, against Le Champion, against Le Sex God, against whatever you want to call him. I call him GOAT. You can call him whatever you want. I don't care. But Jericho is the best of what he does. Jericho reinvents himself each year. He does whatever he has to do to remain relevant, and Jericho is probably the best to ever do it, if you ask me. So I thought Orange Cassidy was going over. I know how much he loves Orange Cassidy. I know how much Orange Cassidy loves working with Jericho. I would love to see another match down the line, maybe with a crowd, maybe build some more attention between the two. But Orange Cassidy, like I said, I don't know if he'll ever be the world champion, but he will be relevant. He will pick up that big win eventually that everybody's just going to talk about for days and years to come. Because when you talk about Orange Cassidy, he lures you in. He doesn't care. He's nonchalant. He doesn't really put in much effort. But when he does get mad, when he does hit that next level, everybody's keeping their eyes on him because they know exactly how good that kid is really at wrestling. I can't wait to see Orange Cassidy do some more of what he did with Jericho. Back when crowds come back, I can't wait for it. So we'll see what happens in the near future. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to my Fyter Fest, both nights, review for this week and last week. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said on Twitter, I am reviewing Fyter Fest today, Thursday. It's coming up Thursday. Then tomorrow we got Great American Bash being reviewed. As of this recording, I've not watched night 2 of the Great American Bash. I will be watching it later today, and we will be putting that video out tomorrow morning. And then we got the fun stuff. We got next week Fight for the Fallen preview and predictions video coming out on Tuesday. And then after that, we got the review next Thursday. And I'm going to assume NXT might counter program, so I might throw some NXT stuff in there. But we're not talking about that right now. But then next Saturday, we are going to be doing Extreme Rules preview and predictions. And then that's going to be the night, Sunday night, Extreme Rules night. I will be recording the video and putting it out immediately following Extreme Rules. I will be doing my review right away after Extreme Rules. And next week, I might be graduating high school. So we might get a vlog out of that. I don't know if I want to film any of that. So we'll see how things go. But there is a lot of content coming back to the channel in the up and coming weeks. So like I said, we're getting back into the groove of things here on YouTube. So be sure to follow, be sure to sub, be sure to hit that notifications bell. Be sure to go follow the Twitter, which is in the description down below. Instagram, you can do whatever you guys want. But make sure you guys come and ride with your role model, because the role model is doing big things. I'll see you guys in the next video.